This year has been packed with franchise films and what would normally be major releases. Yet for all the massive IP movies or films from typically praised artists, there have been relatively few that have stood out, and even less that have become the massive successes and money earners they should have been. Hollywood's financial drought seems to have received a brief reprieve, as this weekend the dual release of what fans have now nicknamed Barbenheimer is upon us, with Greta Gerwig's Barbie raking in dough and the more austere Oppenheimer from Christopher Nolan coming in at a close second, doubling its worldwide projections. Barbenheimer has been the explosive success most expected. While Barbie may have won the weekend, Red Moon has chosen to stick with the tried and true Christopher Nolan. A much less difficult choice to make this time around, as our options were much less pathetic than previous. And sad Russell Crowe is nowhere to be seen. Instead, we get the brilliant Cillian Murphy, powerhouses like Robert Downey Jr. and Emily Blunt, and Matt Damon. Poor Matt Damon. With a narrative split into two timelines, made distinct by one playing out in color, titled Fission, and the other narrative displayed in black and white, labeled Fusion. Nolan has described these narratives as subjective and objective. The color Fission narrative plays as the subjective viewpoint of Oppenheimer himself, while the black and white is meant as an objective view of Oppenheimer's history, dealing mainly with the ramifications of his work on the Manhattan Project, from the viewpoint of Robert Downey Jr.'s Louis Strauss. The film plays with narrative like this, using the ideas of fission and fusion to showcase Oppenheimer's conflicting personality, and compartmentalizing aspects of his story in color. While this narrative jumps around a bit, it's all tied together by the fusion narrative in black and white, focusing on Strauss's vantage point, tying together the fission plot points through two key hearings, one on the decision to repeal Oppenheimer's security clearance with the government, and the other Strauss's own Senate confirmation hearing. Nolan has long been praised for his flair for practical visuals and creative narrative storytelling, and there is some cleverness at play in the way he has chosen to tell Oppenheimer's story through the use of two narratives thematically linked to the principles of fission and fusion. However, I don't find Nolan's execution brazenly clever or unique. Dual narratives and using black and white versus color to contrast them, while well utilized, isn't the kind of narrative innovation Nolan's reputation upholds. Likewise, I don't feel the movie dives into the physics of fission and fusion enough to draw out the clever comparisons of Oppenheimer's life with said principles. And I feel once these titles come and go on screen, those with little knowledge of physics will make the connection again on their own. This is a bigger gripe overall with the movie, as it has been promoted around the creation of the atomic bomb itself, and the practical recreation of the explosion has likewise been hyped as a selling point for the film, yet both are lacking. With prior movies like Inception and Interstellar, Nolan provides deeper analysis of the mechanics that make both unique, that allows for a deeper experience without hand-holding. It's not that both are beyond comprehension, but Nolan included enough of the real-world science to make them believable. With Oppenheimer, everything feels almost too layman, outside of a few key scenes where Oppenheimer is mulling over theories of collapsing stars and black holes. Instead of the technical aspects, Nolan leaves the fission and fusion themes at surface level to focus on Oppenheimer's conflicted mindset, and cautionary themes surrounding whether the creation of the nuclear bomb was for the good or ill of humanity. The film stays rather neutral, mimicking Oppenheimer's own conflicted ideals, and as said, serves mainly to be thought-provoking, questioning what humanity has unleashed with nuclear power. Though this itself is also not unique, and I can't say the film raises any other ideas or says anything new that every other cautionary tale about nuclear power hasn't since the Cold War itself. Overall, Oppenheimer is well-crafted, well-acted, and does tell the key points of Oppenheimer's life. In this, it does succeed as a biopic, though what Nolan delivers is not exactly what the trailers promoted. With heavy emphasis on the creation of the bomb and how it forever changed humanity, yes, I expected the cautionary tale after seeing trailers, but the bomb's creation is but a small fraction of the film, with more going into the politics surrounding its creation and the discrediting of Oppenheimer. It tells his story and raises cautionary questions, but doesn't dive deeply into either. If his work on the bomb isn't the key focus, then I'd have liked to have seen more of his character and relationships. And while we get them, they are mostly shown to highlight Oppenheimer's flaws, and again highlight his mindset and inability to commit in many aspects of his life. It's an interesting aspect to focus on, but makes very little of the real-life people on screen relatable or likable. Yes, this is based on history, but the movie overall feels like there were too many rich aspects it wanted to focus on, and while it does a great job of covering the scope of Oppenheimer's career in 3 hours, none of the varying aspects on display feel as rich in depth as Nolan's best films. Inception, The Dark Knight, Interstellar are loved just as much for the characters and their emotional journey as they are for the visuals and smart scripts. Oppenheimer has enjoyable characters but not compelling ones. Its story is well crafted, but ultimately doesn't set itself apart as an Oppenheimer story told only the way Nolan could. This doesn't make it bad, but it doesn't reach the bar set by Nolan nor the critics, who have hyped the movie as something never seen before. I give Oppenheimer 3 out of 4 stars.